Hello, everybody. I'm here to talk about the Democratic Republicans, the early part of the Washington administration and into the Adams administration, and talk about some of the things that they stood for, who they were, where they were from, and how they helped shape our country. So let's get going on the Democratic Republicans. I know that's really confusing because we have a political party called the Democrats and a political party called the Republicans. The Democratic Republicans aren't Democrats and they're not Republicans. They were a group of people that wanted small government. They wanted the state governments to be powerful and the federal government not to be powerful because they were worried that the federal government would turn into what the redcoats were. And that's not what they wanted, and that's they fought the revolution to avoid that. The next thing I want to talk about is their point of view on the economy. The Democratic Republicans were not a big business type party. They supported the small farmer. They thought that the more business you had, the more government you needed. The more government you needed, the more powerful the government would be. And the more powerful the government is, the harder it will be to control the government. And that is one of the main aspects of the American Revolution is how to control the government. And the Democratic Republicans thought that the way to control the government was to have a government that is not as powerful and smaller. So that was the point of view about the size and scope of the government. One of the main things that I want to talk about, we haven't really covered in class yet, but I want to talk about it on this video, is the Alien and Sedition Acts. And basically, I'm going to take one of them at a time. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Alien Act. And what the Alien Act was pretty much a response to Citizen Genet. And I don't know if you remember this, but I showed you a movie, and Citizen Genet came in, and he demanded that Washington help the French in their war against Great Britain. And Washington basically said, no, we don't really have the capability to get involved in your war. So we're not gonna. And Citizen Genet became very angry and basically insulted the president. And the Alien Acts made by John Adams when he became president was to limit the activity of immigrants when they came into our country. The Federalists feared these immigrants would would vote for foreign interests over the interests of America. And this really isn't true. And that's why the Alien Acts basically were very unpopular. So the Alien Acts were meant to affect immigrants that came in who often voted with the Democratic Republicans. So the Federalists saw this as a way to not only limit the immigrants' influence in this country, but to hurt their rival party. So the Federalists were very for the Alien Acts, and the Democratic Republicans were against it. The other one was the Sedition Act, and this is even more controversial because what sedition is talking bad about the government. And we've kind of grown up in a country where talking bad about the government's only natural. And here we are, we've got these Democratic Republicans, and they think it's wrong if the government says you can't say bad things about the government. The Democratic Republicans think that's a violation of free speech. The Federalists are saying, like, hey, when you come in and you say bad things about the government, you could be forming a revolution. And the Democratic Republicans didn't see it that way. They just saw that as free speech and that you were supposed to say things about the government. That's how you got it off your chest so you don't end up having a revolution. So the Democratic Republicans are very much against the Sedition Act, saying that that is free speech, and very much against the Alien Acts because they're saying, you know, these people are coming here to be Americans. Why not let them? So that is quick recap. The Democratic Republicans are for limited government. They're for small government. They are for only following exactly what the Constitution says. They are against the Alien Acts. They're against the Sedition Acts. They're mostly from the South, and they totally support Thomas Jefferson. That's a 5-minute video. It's kind of going a little long. I hope you enjoyed it. On YouTube, you have a quiz tomorrow. Make sure that you study for at least a half hour tonight the differences between the Democratic Republicans and the Federalists. Also look on also look on Edmodo for this paper, which is part of your quiz. You're going to have an opportunity to study it before you come in tomorrow, only on Edmodo. So that's where you're going to find that. All right, thank you. Have a great day.